Welcome back to this week's episode of The Real Country File. You might recognise Liv, that is Angela's daughter. She's here helping us cart grain because harvest has begun. Class are here at the moment, just calibrating the GPS on the machine. Anyway, on this week's episode, Stephen catches up with our roving reporter, Rob Mason, who's at the Great Eccleston Show. So Great Eccleston Show are sponsoring this week's episode. It is next weekend. I'll be there on the Sunday. My sister's getting married on the Saturday, so I won't be there on the Saturday, although our lads will be taking some tractors to take part in the tractor pulling on the Saturday anyway. So you will see some big fence and there's area on there. Anyway, let's go and see how Stephen's got on with Rob Mason.
Well, this week on The Real Country File, we're getting a bit of a sneak preview for the Great Eccleston Show, where you'll be able to see loads of classic tractors like this, as well as so much more, Rob. I know you're not the chairman this year, but you've been heavily involved what seems forever at the Great Eccleston Show.
Yeah, so I've been involved with the Great Eccleston Show for a number of years now. Did chairman for the last 4 years. Absolutely loved it, but just had to take that back seat this time just to concentrate on things at home. But yeah, I'm still heavily involved. The chairman, Matt Gunston, now, he's doing a fantastic job. He keeps me in the loop. I keep ringing him up and saying, have you done this, have you done that? And he said, yes I have, and oh no, I haven't done that. So there's lots going on. There's vintage tractors like here today. There's a tractor pulling, there's sheep, there's cows, there's pigs, there's the handicrafts. You name it, it's going to have it.
There's always loads going on in terms of in the main arena as well, isn't there, Rob?
Yes, yeah, that main arena is jam-packed. So on the Saturday there's a dairy judging in the morning, and there's the Shire horses in there, all the big turnouts, all the real fantastic things that people spend a lot of time preparing, not just on show day, but weeks, months, even years before the show, getting, like, especially on dairy side, the genetics and of animals and what they're going to do. There's also, I think, the Vale and Harriers, the hunt, they're there. There's all sorts going on. Motorbike display teams.
And I believe you've got some rather special sheep that you're going to be showing this year.
Yeah, we've pulled out some obviously into the Texels. We've pulled out some Texels that we'll see if we get any rosettes this time.
You're going aiming high, aren't you?
Yeah, we're going hard or going home, I think, this year.
Superb. So that's what's the dates for the Great Eccleston Show?
It's the 15th and 16th of July this year, Saturday, Sunday.
And I know on the Sunday you'll be able to see our very own Ollie Harrison, who'll be down there. I'll be there as well. We'll catch you for a cup of tea there, mate.
Yeah, a cup of tea or a beer, depends where I am.
See what time of day it is.
Yeah, that's it.
It's the Great Eccleston Show coming up 15th and 16th of July.
Thanks for that, Rob and Stephen. Like I say, you will see me there next weekend, and obviously Stephen's going to be there as well. Now, it was Cyril's event a few weeks ago, and we caught up with another YouTuber, Andrew Ward, who was on the Bayer stand talking about the current glyphosate situation. So here's a little report from Andrew Ward, or Wardy's Weekly Waffle, as you might recognise him from.
So I've got Mark Bucking here at Cyril's event, who's communications manager, head of communications for Bayer, and I've known Mark a long while. We've helped each other a lot when glyphosate was in its tricky stages, getting banned or not re-licensed a few years ago. So just touching on glyphosate first, Mark, how long is it before this registration process that we've currently got runs out?
Sure. Well, we're in good shape in the UK. We've got the current license is in place till December 2025.
Yeah.
But we will start applying soon to put a dossier in to get a review and get a new license beyond then. I mean, so far, I'd say we're not experiencing a lot of politics compared with what we did in 2017 in England. I think in Europe it's really heating up because they're about to get into their voting phase for the next authorisation there. So we'll see the final publication of the scientific findings from the European Food Safety Authority in the next month or so, and then they'll spend the second 6 months of this year voting on it. So it'll be very political. There'll be a lot of noise. I'm confident we will still have a license for glyphosate in Europe. Farmers will continue to be able to use it, so we'll be able to sell our crops going with glyphosate.
We will, because of Brexit and the fact that trading, that won't affect that.
Not in relation to the use of that herbicide. I think we should be okay on that.
And it's still classed as a safe product?
Sure, it's the science remains excellent, that it's got a really, really good track record. first registered in 1974. Did you know that it was Britain got the first use of glyphosate with the USA in 1974, the year that ABBA won the Eurovision Song Contest, a time when it was also held in Britain, in Brighton.
Well, 1974, actually, that is one of the dates I do have in my head about glyphosate, because I rely on it and I can't farm without it at the moment with our blackgrass policy and things that we've done. So that is one date I do know, and it's nice to hear that you think abroad we're going to be all right.
Fingers crossed. It's not done. It won't be done till it's done. It's politics, but we've got a path to a new license.
What about the lawsuit, the case that's been going on in America, because it's still happening?
It is. I'm afraid. So very, very expensive and time-consuming for Bayer. But we've actually, there've been 10 cases now in those American courts, and we've won the last 7. So we did lose the first 3. And these are in front of juries, so they're not expert courts, it's regular juries. But the last 7 cases in a row, Bayer has won, where the jury has found that this person with cancer, they are ill, but glyphosate did not cause their cancer. And that's exactly the same finding that all the expert scientists conclude around the world. When the regulators look at glyphosate, they say it is not a carcinogen, it doesn't cause cancer. And it took us a while to discover how to explain that within all the rules of evidence and all the appropriate rules to these juries in America. So we didn't get it right for those 3 cases, and that's cost Bayer a huge amount of money and fueled this controversy, which is still ongoing. But having won 7 cases and settled a huge lot more, I think we're on a path to getting past that.
And there were some lawyers, wasn't there, that were sort of prosecuted because they were giving false information?
There were. It's been a whole big controversy, and there's a good website, Glyphosate Litigation Facts, if you really want to get into it. But it's hopefully we are starting to see a bit of light at the end of the tunnel there.
And just lastly, touching on the carcinogenic effect of it, the World Health Organization have tested it, haven't they? And they've said it's possibly carcinogenic, but then 99% of the products they test is possibly carcinogenic.
Right. But actually there's lots of controversy around that. It wasn't actually the World Health Organization, it was a subgroup called IARC, International Centre for Research on Cancer, and they said it was probably carcinogenic, but their process isn't a weight of evidence kind of process. So they actually made that finding back in March 2015, and that kicked off a lot of this controversy, which when you and I worked together, and that's still going. But the fact is, since then, all of the global regulators from Europe, America, Canada, Australia, Japan, Korea, everybody has looked at glyphosate, looked at what IARC said, and these regulators with actual responsibility for advising governments on should these products be available, they disagree with IARC. They say it is not carcinogenic. Right up to this, so this review we're expecting to hear from EFSA in coming weeks. That'll be the second time they've looked at it in detail since IARC. And when they produced their draft last year, they said it's not carcinogenic. It doesn't.
That's the Food Standards Agency
in Europe. So IARC is plain wrong, and they are not engaging with the scientific process by normally in science, if you publish something, people will look at it and say, well, that looks interesting and that's interesting, but I disagree with that, and they'll test it and develop it, and you'll learn. IARC published this claim in 2015. They've left it there. Everybody of any standing whatsoever has disagreed with them. They've just left it there. Normally in science, you would say, well, we still hold to that position. We disagree with everyone else, or okay, everyone else, we understand what you're saying. We agree with you. IARC isn't behaving like a science-driven organisation.
Quite a lot of people on social media come on about the bee issue and they say, glyphosate kills bees. What's the answer to that?
Well, we've done a lot of studies. This European authorisation required us to produce an enormous dossier, and we did some new studies on bees and found it doesn't affect them, and that's the finding of the European regulator.
Right, and you say you've engaged with some gardening organisations.
Sure. So there's constantly media about it, but some of the studies suggesting it is dangerous are just completely impractical. There was one famous one a couple of years ago where they held the bees in small dark boxes so they didn't move and soaked them, saturated them. And so yeah, they did get some mortality there, but you would have got similar mortality with washing up liquid or almost anything.
And I think,
and so that's not a realistic example of how any kind of herbicide would be used. And but their finding was this can be dangerous to bees. But it was a totally unrealistic situation, and they used extremely high rates even then. So I think one has to be careful with understanding if the science is looking at a real situation or if it's looking for some unrealistic situation.
I think that's the same when they were looking at the banning of neonics, weren't they? They were exposing the bees to exceptionally high volumes of neonicotinoid, and then saying they got bee mortality. Anyway, Mark, thanks very much.
Thanks for that, Andrew. What are your thoughts anyway on glyphosate? Let us know in the comments. Be really interested to hear what you think about it. To me, it's one of the most important chemicals that we've got, and if it was invented today, you'd win a Nobel Peace Prize for it because of how it can protect soil and make us more productive with the land that we've got. Anyway, that's all for this week. Thanks again to Great Eccleston Show. Don't forget it's the 15th and 16th. Maybe see you there. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.